Welcome to all of the 400 participants from the CGIU and Howard University communities. Uh, I have to admit, I am extremely excited about this week's annual meeting and especially interested in seeing this afternoon's service projects. Whether you are here representing Howard or CGIU, all of you who are participating in this week's annual meeting have demonstrated two things about yourself: that you are personally talented and that you are motivated to use your talent in the service of others. You'll be defined not by how you lead, but why. Here at Howard University, we're asking students about what their mission is versus their major. Our motto is truth and service, and we tell them they come here to get the truth, but ultimately their education is for the service of others. In the aftermath of the national crisis that we've seen, we will often see the rise of a golden generation. I have no doubt that following this pandemic, we will see the most important generation in our nation's history since World War II. During the pandemic, you have experienced both national loss and personal struggle, and yet your focus has never deviated from what you can do for other people. By watching my students at Howard, I have been amazed at how engaged this generation is with the world and with their communities. If there's one thing I hope we all take away from this pandemic, is that we must recognize the humanity in every single person and to see how truly interconnected we all are. Howard has tried to lead by example as being a force for good within our local community. Howard is a trusted messenger, which meant that we had an opportunity to stand up testing in wards 7 and 8. And now we currently have stood up a vaccination center to ensure that as many of our citizens, and especially those most at risk, those African American members of our community, are getting the vaccine in numbers that can protect us all. I am proud of you all for recognizing that true hallmarks of leadership is not how high you rise, but how you reach back in order to pull others forward. So it is my distinct honor, with that in mind, to introduce someone who models that very behavior, the Honorable Muriel Bowser, the Mayor of the District of Columbia. Mayor Bowser is committed to making sure every Washingtonian gets a fair shot in a growing and prosperous Washington, D.C. Her administration is focused on making D.C.'s prosperity more inclusive, advancing D.C. values, and building safer, stronger, and healthier neighborhoods across all of D.C.'s 8 wards. With more than 20 years of experience in local government, she first entered elective office as an ANC commissioner in the Riggs Park neighborhood. The mayor has also been a wonderful partner of Howard University for many years, especially during the pandemic. And we have relied heavily on the guidance of her team to protect our students, faculty, and staff. So Mayor Bowser, thank you for being with us today, and welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Frederick. And it is always great to be with you and always great to talk to Howard University students and the Howard University community. I'm just really thrilled to join you briefly this morning to encourage you, especially during this difficult year, but encourage you to always find ways to serve. I, of course, have the honor of being the mayor of my hometown and soon to be our 51st state, Washington, D.C. If you have not been following our push for statehood, I invite you to do that. Our Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton has introduced H.R. 51, the Washington, D.C. Admission Act. I want to, of course, welcome students and alumni and visitors of one of our preeminent higher learning institutions in the District of Columbia. And we have just been thrilled to see Howard University recognized by its students, but also recognized by the broader philanthropic community in this past year as being a center for learning and also a place where our country can incubate ideas that will get us beyond the racial reckoning that we've been experienced, not just this year, but for many decades. The Clinton Foundation and the Clinton family are friends of Washington and friends of Howard. And I want to thank the foundation for leading the charge and engaging the next generation of public service. I want to applaud you for your commitment to service and serving others as well. Dr. Frederick has already mentioned that for all of us, we have experienced an unprecedented year. Dealing with this pandemic has certainly called on everyone interested in how we serve the public to think differently, to think more deeply about inequities in our society, and especially how those inequities have been laid bare during a health pandemic, but also in the economic crisis that it created. We also know that with difficult times, there are always opportunities to come back and to come back strong and to come back differently. And that's what I've charged my team with focusing on. How do we build back our economy? How do we get kids back on track? How do we make sure women who have been devastated by this pandemic and the economic crisis is created are able to get back into the workforce and achieve their dreams as well. So all the time that you spend in Washington and all the projects that touch the DC community, I want to thank you for that and welcome you to call on our administration for any ways that we can help. I want to also ask you to be a part of it. We recruit 1,700 boards and commission members that really have an impact on policies and decisions in the district. So please stay in touch with us. I'm very pleased now to introduce someone who is no stranger to innovation and service, having served in the United States Army's 82nd Airborne Division and currently as the Chief Executive Officer for the Robin Hood Foundation, one of the largest anti-poverty organizations in America. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Wes Moore.
Mayor Vazra, thank you so much. It is great to see you. Thank you for your remarkable leadership. And we are all grateful for your service and for truly making us all better. And yes, we will make DC the 51st state. And I'm honored to be here. I'm honored to be here and joining you and the entire CGI family for this annual meeting. Especially when you think about today's theme being community service, I can just think of no other organization that has done more to place community service at the center of its work than the Clinton Foundation, and no family who have given more when it comes to true community service than the Clinton family. And so it is, so thank you to you all for your leadership, for your vision, and for your inspiration to all of us. And, you know, I wanted to just spend a few minutes talking about this idea and this concept of community service. Because I think oftentimes community service, when people think about community service, it's this idea of giving back to an individual. And I think about how it's oftentimes even used even in my own narrative and my own story. You know, I run one of the largest poverty fighting organizations in this country, where in the history of the organization, you know, we have allocated north of $3 billion into the fight in education, in housing, transportation, criminal justice reform, early childhood, working with seniors. Everywhere where poverty is either the cause or the consequence, we will find, we will fund, we will build if necessary. And oftentimes when we have those conversations, it comes back to the individual narrative, right? It comes back to the individual variable, where even when, you know, in my own journey, where I was sent to a military school because of some things that I was getting into when I was younger. And oftentimes people will say, well, isn't it great that you got sent away? Isn't it great that you got picked up and moved? And I say, you know, the thing that happened to me wasn't the fact that I was physically transported. What happened to me wasn't the fact that I was picked up and moved around. What happened to me was the fact that I was surrounded by people. And starting with my mom and my grandparents, but eventually leading to this amazing string of role models and mentors and supports and ministers and coaches and university presidents and parents of friends, who helped me to understand that the world was bigger than what was just directly in front of me. Who helped me to understand that we live in a big and a beautiful and a bright world, and I actually had a place in it. Who helped me to understand that there was never going to be any accidents of birth, not being Black, nor being in poverty, nor being from Baltimore or the Bronx or fatherless, that was ever going to define me or limit me. And so in essence, what they did was they taught me what it meant to be free. And all that's real, and all that's true. But I think with part of this experience and part of this conversation, this is also about how do we broaden the definition of community service? Where sometimes community service is going to mean the individual act that's going to help the individual person. Sometimes community service is going to mean how we're working on building that home that's going to provide shelter and refuge to those who need it. Sometimes community service is going to mean, what are we going to do to actually improve that school that's going to be able to provide a pathway to that child who might feel that they are as interested in that institution as that institution is interested in it. And oftentimes at that moment, it might not feel like very much. Sometimes it means providing access and gateways and food to those who are food insecure, shelter to those who are housing insecure. And sometimes it means actually going after the structural inequities that exist. Sometimes community service means that it means going after the laws and going after the basic infrastructure that continue to allow inequity to persist. There's a quote that actually sits on my desk from Dr. King where he says, philanthropy is commendable, but the philanthropists can never forget the economic injustice that makes philanthropy necessary. Part of this journey into community service, part of this journey that we all go through is understanding what becomes our own individual role. What's our space? What's our place? And what's our impact? And through this journey, not just through the annual meeting, but beyond, that becomes the individual question that each and every one of us have got to answer. Not just what are we doing to involve ourselves in community service, but what is our community service? Who will we fight for? And what impact will we make? So I'm incredibly grateful for all of you who have devoted not just your time, but your life to making our society and our world better. Because it is because of that service that we will be better. Thank you for your commitment to others. And now next up, you'll be hearing more from Howard University about today's virtual community service project. It's great to see you.
Good afternoon, Clinton Global Initiative and Howard University participants. My name is Jordan Allen, a sophomore marketing major, political science minor, attending Howard University and tuning in from my home city of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Our motto at Howard is Veritas and Utilitas, truth and service. Here, our faculty and administration equip students with the necessary tools and resources to become the leaders of the future. And while we come to the Mecca to learn truth, during our time here, we also learn the importance of service. We are taught the importance of using our knowledge and skills to serve the greater Howard University community, our nation, and most importantly, this world. At Howard, we start every school year off and every homecoming with an annual day of service. On this day, students in the DC community go out and assist in a variety of projects, from refurbishing community gardens to assisting in classrooms and nursing homes. And last year, although virtual, our students continue to serve. And here's why.
Service is being selfless. It's putting others before yourself. It's about making sure that the needs and the people are taken care of, that you're inspired and empowered about giving back to a group of people or a community in need.
I define service as giving back and putting others before you put yourself. That means providing anything that will help someone else without expecting anything in return.
Service is an act of compassion and of seeing a brother, a sister, or a neighbor in need and recognizing that need, and then acting selflessly to support that person and lift them up.
Service is providing help and assistance to individuals without expecting anything in return. It's pure and authentic and a joy to everyone involved.
Service is the best way to show your love for others. Giving back teaches you humility, compassion, thankfulness, and so much more.
To me, service is completing selfless actions for the benefit of the community and contributing to a cause greater than yourself.
But the service doesn't stop there. It is so common to see students giving up their entire spring break to serve across the globe. with our Alternative Spring Break program. Since 1994, Howard University Alternative Spring Break has offered service learning opportunities in marginalized communities around the nation and the world. Howard University Alternative Spring Break has been committed to serving communities in need and involving students in meaningful service projects in order to develop the next generation of servant leaders. Although group service is a big tradition at Howard, our faculty and administration also teach us the importance of using the power that we have to make a difference by ensuring that every student understands what they bring to the table, and that although it may be different, they have the ability to serve others through their unique talents and abilities. I currently serve as the 9th chairwoman of the Howard University Student Association Senate and as a senator of the School of Business. Being a student leader at Howard University has been one of my most rewarding experiences thus far. It allowed me to reimagine what service looked like, especially in a virtual environment. I have learned to hear the concerns of students and use my voice to serve and spark necessary conversations to make Howard University a better place for all students. Public service to the student's body is how I serve. And today you will have the wonderful opportunity to indulge in our Howard University culture and the world of truth and service. We have 4 exciting community service projects the participants will engage in during today's program at the Moreland Spingarn Research Center at Howard University, the Ralph J. Bunch Center at Howard University, Martha's Table in DC, and the Andrew Rankin Memorial Chapel at Howard University. Activity 1, the Moreland Spingarn Research Center at Howard University. This virtual opportunity, in partnership with the Moreland Spingarn Research Center, supports our digital Howard efforts. Volunteers will transcribe and improve the accessibility of select historical documents related to the Black experience. Volunteers for this project will have access to artifacts, broadsides, playbills, programs, and various documents related to enslavement, including indenture contracts, deeds of emancipation, bills of sale, and receipts. Activity 2, the Ralph J. Bunch Center at Howard University. Many Howard University students study abroad every year. The Ralph J. Bunch International Affairs Center serves as a hub for Howard University's extensive international activities and opportunities. Volunteers will have the wonderful opportunity to populate digital travel resource guides that allow visitors to the Bunch Center site to explore the locations around the globe. The main activity for this session is to help curate and review virtual travel resources for 3 to 5 popular travel destinations. Activity 3, Martha's Table.
Martha's Table is a nonprofit organization that serves the needs of the community in the DC metropolitan area, and it ranges from after-school daycare programs, educational programs, job placement, clothing needs, as well as food for families facing insecurities. My first Saturday serving at Martha's Table, I literally put 4 beverages in a bag for 3 hours. And I loved it because it just reminds you that every little bit makes a difference.
Martha's Table is a DC-based nonprofit organization that supports strong children, strong families, and strong communities by increasing access to quality education, health and wellness, and family resources. Volunteers for this session will consider the social issues Martha's Table supports, identify the best practices for handling these social issues, and identify ways Martha's Table can better commend and connect their efforts to best practices outlined by national service organizations. Activity 4, Andrew Rankin Memorial Chapel at Howard University. Recently, the Andrew Rankin Memorial Chapel developed the Wellness Collective, which supports the wellness of students' mind, body, spirit, and soul. The collective features experts in mindfulness, meditation, self-care, and spiritualism. Volunteers passionate about wellness will assist with curating and reviewing a resource guide on holistic wellness with college students, undergraduate and graduate in Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? And today you will have the wonderful opportunity to answer that question for yourself while exhibiting our model of excellence in truth and service. On behalf of the Howard University and DC community, I would like to thank each and every one of you for taking part in today's service activities. And I hope that you have a great day and excellence in truth and shame.